Race the Sun is an endless running video game, developed and published by flippfly. The game has a very straightforward concept. You're a pilot of a solar-powered spacecraft, and you fly endlessly towards the sun while avoiding abstract shapes and various obstacles placed in your path. With a successful Kickstarter that gained the developers over $21,000 out of the $20,000 asking price, this is flippfly's first PC outing, with most of their previous games having been on mobile devices. Don your wings, like Icarus, we're flying high in this review of Race the Sun. Race the Sun is an interesting little arcade game made in Unity, a video game engine used in many a game project on the internet, allowing budding video game creators a means to get their games made without being forced into a costly game engine purchase. As stated before, the bulk of the game is piloting a ship endlessly towards the horizon. The sun moves faster than you do, so each run ends at some point, whether by running into an obstacle, or with the sun disappearing over the horizon and your little ship running out of power. Avoiding the shadows is imperative, as it slows down your ship, making you lose more valuable time. The lower the sun gets, the longer and bigger the shadows of objects become, increasing the challenge. As you pilot your ship around and through obstacles, you'll gain points the longer you fly. You'll also notice several pickups during your journey. The first and most common are Try, which give points when you pick them up. Soon, you'll unlock other power-ups, like a green power-up that allows you a single jump, or the most valuable one of all, a yellow booster that reverses time and forces the sun higher, allowing your run to go on longer. Early on, you'll unlock a point multiplier that increases for every 5 try you pick up, rewarding you for skilled flying. The game also offers a number of challenges, and you'll level up as you complete them, unlocking pretty much everything the game has to offer. Many of them are simple: go a certain distance, pick up a number of a power-up, use power-ups a certain number of times. Others are more challenging, like barrel roll so many times, or reach a certain region without bumping any obstacles. With each successful region comes greater obstacles and challenges. The first region simply has static tunnels and obstacles. The second region often has falling pillars and tumbling cubes. The third region has numerous mountainous ranges and strange launching missiles. In the fourth region, you'll find out what those missiles are for. They strike the ground and create huge, bright explosions. Get caught in them and you'll be blinded for several seconds. It's uncommon to come out of one of these explosions with your ship intact, but it's not unheard of. Speaking of regions, one of the key features of the game is that every 24 hours, the maps change. Fundamentally, these maps play out as usual, but power-ups and obstacles are in different areas than from the day before, encouraging gameplay from day to day. There are also portals that from time to time you may find yourself flying into. These new regions are user-created and range from simple to challenging, but exist only to earn you extra points. If you complete them, you'll return to the normal game. The fact that user-generated content is in the main game is a cool addition, especially if you make your own. Someone may eventually play through your region one day. In addition to these user-generated regions, the game has a Steam workshop where players can upload their created regions for you to fly through. Many of these regions are huge and welcome departures from the normal game, which should help breathe some extra life into the game and net you a few extra hours of gameplay. Finally, there are a few other game modes, including Apocalypse, which gives you a faster moving ship and places more obstacles in front of you. While these other game modes are interesting and nice distractions to help break up the monotony of the normal game mode, they're simply that, distractions. The soundtrack for Race the Sun fits the game like a glove, ranging from slow, mellow, almost eerie tracks to deep, panic-inducing tones that remind you that you're in more difficult regions and no longer on a pleasure cruise. Unfortunately, due to the fact that you'll be listening to the same handful of tracks throughout your time with the game, you may wind up like me, preferring to listen to your favorite music instead. In terms of the graphics, minimalist is a good word to use here. Everything is very simple, and pretty much every obstacle in the game is a geometric shape. This simplicity means Race the Sun isn't a very resource-intensive game, but quickly becomes a double-edged blade. It doesn't give you much to keep coming back. The original regions that come with the game aren't spectacular, and the color palette is primarily whites, blacks, and grays. The user-generated regions are much more interesting in terms of colors, obstacles, and overall creativity. While the game touts its ability to change maps every day, these changes are minimal and boring. Obstacles and power-ups change position, which is nice, until you realize all these map changes do is challenge you to re-memorize the power-up and obstacle placement. For the most part, many of the game's major obstacles never seem to move. Tunnels, mountains, falling pillars, and more seem to stay within the same general areas within their regions. The more I played Race to the Sun, the more I realized that this game could have used some sort of RNG mixing things up from time to time. The game also has questionable replay value. I played a handful of hours the first day, finally realized the maps apparently changed every day, and played a few hours the next day to see the changes. Most of the changes are so minimal that you'll find yourself shrugging and saying, "That's it?" For example, the first region on my first day of playing didn't have spears in it. On my second day, it did. Pretty much everything else was the same though. For such a huge feature with ridiculous potential, it's the game's biggest disappointment by far. Which is another issue the game has. It's less about skill than it is about memorization. If you play it long enough, you'll progress further simply because you know where everything is. Even simply knowing where to get a jump or a boost power-up at the start of each region can make a big difference from run to run, as acquiring other kinds of power-ups often only requires good reaction times or a timely use of a jump power-up to get over obstacles. Toward the end of each level, a bird drops a number of score and multiplier boosting try, and a power-up. Usually these are boosts, but sometimes they drop other kinds of power-ups. Having the bird always drop boosts, arguably the game's best power-up, would be a welcome change. If not that, having the sun stop dropping during these transitional segments would allow for less stressful travel if no boost is dropped. The game's minimalist art style and music is fascinating at first, but quickly gets boring, making this a difficult game to play for long periods of time. And because the art style is so basic, I'd welcome a sequel that played with more sophisticated graphics and themes. There's a lot of potential here for a good sequel, nowhere to go but up, really. While Race to the Sun has its fair share of ups and downs, it's still a game worth trying when the price is right. The developers were clearly inspired by old school Super Nintendo Star Fox, and it shows in several of the game's default regions. Some of these things just can't be coincidence. It's not a complicated game, and that's both its strength and weakness. It's great to play in short bursts to keep it fresh. If you're looking to purchase the game, it's been on Humble Bundle on numerous occasions. Race to the Sun is normally $10 on Steam, but since it's an older game, on sales it's often only a few bucks. If you're willing to use Safari or Internet Explorer, it's possible to play the game free on Kongregate to know what you're getting into, and it's probably the better choice if you want to play the game but lack the money to purchase it. Thanks for watching, see you next time.